Stephen King es...
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Cam. We're getting It Welcome to Derry in just a few days. And so, well, it's high time to revisit the town of Derry from years gone by and taking a look at all of the versions of Stephen King's It, the miniseries It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2. I've already covered them on my channel, but that was in 2019, and I think there's more to talk about. So I'm here. Jacob Collins for Three Moon Cinema is here. Jacob, how are you?
Oh, you want a balloon? Oh, Georgie, you smell very well of your dad, huh? Very well of your dad, huh? Georgie? Huh?
Yep, we're gonna show you how to float down here
Does it
as
float?
we
Yes, it floats.
as
I
we
mean, that
take
is like such a good acting. Tim Curry is so good in this movie.
yeah. But like I said, we're gonna be doing it the mini series and then It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2 in in
Yeah.
separate reviews. And like I said, I did cover these once before in honor of It Chapter 2, but I feel like I wanted to just do it again because why not? But this was originally a mini series, and it has gone on to legendary status. It is from 1990, and it is called
It the movie.
It. This was a TV miniseries. It was released on ABC. It starred Tim Curry, Jonathan Brandis, Dennis Christopher, Annette O'Toole, and Tim Reed and John Ritter, among others. And it is based on the legendary book of the same name written by Stephen King. It tells the story of a town in Maine, because Stephen King, of course, which is terrorized by a malevolent force disguised as Pennywise the Dancing Clown, played by Tim Curry. It attacks some children in the 1950s. However, fast forward a couple of decades, and the kids are now adults, and they return to Derry upon learning of the death of their friend. And, well, let's just say it strikes again. I remember, Collins, and this is just me, but I remember watching the Nostalgia Critic review of this before ever watching the movie. And so when I watched this for the first time, I was prepared to be like, oh, well, this is going to be crap. And, like, in certain aspects, it is. But I also have a weird little soft spot for it. It's not as easy, in my opinion, to do like, oh, clearly It Chapter 1 is way better than this. There are parts of It Chapter 1 I really like, but there's also parts of this miniseries that I really like. So it's not that clear of a separation of this is clearly terrible and It Chapter 1 is clearly superior. I think there's more of a discussion there.
Well, I'm really glad that you like this movie, but I really just think it is pure adulterated crap. No, I'm joking. I really like this movie. I think it's a unique movie because I remember seeing this movie in 1990, or not 1990 because I wasn't alive in 1990, but I remember seeing it was on USA, did a marathon back in like 2003 or 4, and they would just play it over and over, it the movie. And I remember just seeing the first image I remember seeing is the little boy going to take a shower and the clown popping up out of there, and he goes, "See you in your nightmares," and making that demonic face, and I just remember terrorizing me. I'm like, oh my god. And as you know, years went on, I remember like my aunt had it on VHS and she recorded it. It part one, it part two, and it was in two part because it was on TV movie, and so they had commercials and everything. So I remember having to watch this movie through like the TV, and I remember not liking it. And this is gonna sound crazy, okay? I did not like it, the movie, until today.
Really?
Yes, I appreciated it, but I never liked it. And I remember, like I said, but then when it chapter one came out, I just never rewatched it because I'm just like, it's a 4 hour movie, and like Pennywise only has 20 minutes of screen time. Like Bill Skarsgård, I was like, Bill Skarsgård is a much more fantastic Pennywise. And I do like Bill Skarsgård more than Tim Curry, but I think Tim Curry is really a good Pennywise. Only thing is, Bill Skarsgård, I think you have more screen time with Bill Skarsgård to actually get his Pennywise versus with Tim Curry, he's only in it for like 20 minutes. And that's out of 4 hours. With Bill Skarsgård, he has double the screen time with his two movies. But I will say this, though. I do think Tim Curry, with the screen time he had, he's really good with in the screen time. He's not terrible. And I do think though this movie today, because it's very close, because I remember rereading the book just in the last year, and I remember really like, oh my god, this is very much close to the TV movie. Like this actually is very, very close.
There are certain parts that they obviously couldn't touch for
Yeah.
very obvious reasons, which those that know. But yes, I do agree.
Yeah, there's for context, there is a scene where that's in It Chapter 2. At the beginning of It Chapter 2, if you've seen It Chapter 2, that scene is in the book.
Yeah.
And yeah, they don't do that in this movie because like one, they would not, they don't really have people at the time, that wasn't really like a big thing on television to have a person of that background in movies. Like in fact, I think in the book it's kind of hinted that Richie kind of is, but they didn't touch it in the movie. They just kind of like danced around it in the miniseries. But then, while in the 2019 sequel, they actually touch on it a lot, and so which that shows you the time span, because in the 90s they were like, we can't touch on this subject, but
No.
but yeah, let's kill a bunch of children. That's like fine.
Well, despite the questionable source material, this was a huge success for ABC, despite it airing amongst, according to doing some research, there was some mixed reviews, and then there was a bit of news involving George H.W. Bush going overseas for the first time as president. Minus that, this show did 30 million viewers across its two parts. So no matter how you slice it, that's a huge success. And just in general, I mean, we might as well just talk about Tim Curry now, because I mean, he's generally great in anything that he's in. I hesitate to say this is the best he's ever been, but I give him all the credit in the world. Like, he just gives this like so much personality. Like, he's legit terrifying, but he's also funny in a lot of places. Like, you have Prince Albert in a can? You do? Well, you better let the poor guy out. Waha, and all of that. But then he switches it up and can be genuinely scary too. It's the tightrope balance, and he nails it.
Yeah. One scene that I really like, like there's a scene at the beginning of the movie, the very beginning of I keep calling It's the mini series, but they call it the movie.
Yeah.
It the movie, where basically like there's a scene where like the little girl at the beginning, this is like the very first scene, where the little girl, the mom's doing laundry, okay, and the little girl is like coming up the bicycle, and the Pennywise is literally hanging right there, is in the laundry, goes, "Hey, little girl," and then she looks over, and he's like this, just waving at her and everything, and then all of a sudden, then he does this face like, and then you see like the camera pan towards her, run towards her, and then all of a sudden you see the bicycle's wheel spinning. Which, by the way, that's actually one of the book covers, the bicycle wheel spinning. So that's like a homage to like one of the covers of the book. And I do think that's really terrifying. You see like a little girl and the clown's like, "Hey," and then "Hi," and then all of a sudden, like you find the girl she's found dead, and I'm just like, oh man, that's so dark. And you're like, what happened? And then you find out like the clown, and it chapter the movies though, oh my god, like they show like the clown eat little girls. Like what?
Yeah.
So
Andy Muschietti didn't hold back, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Another part that did get me was the scene where Pennywise is standing in the graves. You know the one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, one's already called for."
That's pretty scary to think about. And I did want to know before I forgot, this first part, I guess, was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, who, I mean, his credits are endless in horror. He directed Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, Fright Night 2, like you name it, he's dipped his toes in various franchises. And I think he did a great job.
I honestly think Tommy Lee Wallace did a fantastic job directing it. I think honestly, and he doesn't get enough credit for that. Like I think honestly, people think, oh, he's the guy who made Halloween 3. That's always like that 100% is always he gets, but he made It the movie, which I think honestly, look, I love Halloween 3, but I think It the movie is really much better. Like I think honestly that it doesn't get enough credit. And I do like that people like, I know when It Chapter 1 came out, people were just like, oh yeah, the superior It movie just came out. And I actually do think that like the movie kind of gets shrugged under, but now people are appreciating it, and I think that this movie did better. There's a lot of stuff this movie did better than It Chapter 2, because I feel like It Chapter 2 they cut a lot of stuff out, and this is the one like they actually included everything.
We'll touch on that when we get to that,
Yeah.
but I think the rest of the cast though did really good though. John Ritter, rest in peace, he is in here. Annette O'Toole, our beloved Annette O'Toole, is in this. She's great. Like there's like Dennis Christopher as well. He's really good. There's just a solid cast around here, and you just like the kid actors are good, and then the adult actors are good as well. So there's a really nice like dynamic there. I think my biggest criticism is that this is Stephen King, so a lot of his, I'll just call it King-isms, are here as well. Like it takes place in Maine. There's an alcoholic father, which I mean that's baked into the cake, so it is what it is.
You got abusive bullies.
Yep.
That want to kill you. Like they don't want to hurt you. No, they're trying to kill you.
Yeah, like they're not messing around. Like it's not like we're just gonna mess with you. No, like this is your last day of school ever kind of energy.
Yeah. They're one bad day away from like just putting like a rope around your neck and hanging you from a tree. That's how bad they are.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Like they literally like, especially like, and then there's like one student, like the black kid, that they would literally just like, oh, we're here to kill him. We're not even like trying to like, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like which I mean, I think honestly though, they're going back to like that in the It Welcome Dairy. That's what I feel like It Welcome Dairy. That's what they're following. They're trying to follow the '90s movie like closer, because I know a lot of people love the '90s movie, so they're trying to follow that kind of formula since they can't really adapt. They already adapted the whole book, and so which I feel like though with this one though, like I honestly, like I said, like they literally, I like how like they defended him, like when he was being chased. They said, we're not after you today. Today we're only after him. And then like they get into a rock fight, which I'm like, the rock fight must have been hurt, because at least in the like this is like they're on like there's no water. They just like throw freaking rocks, and then one girl's like, I'll bash your head in. You'll go to the hospital. And I'm like, damn, they're gonna kill this dude. And yeah, the thing that always gets me, whenever like they're in the tunnels, and then one of the bullies gets like the lights get the bully, and all of a sudden you just see him get sucked into the pipe, like his legs, and just get like just like
yeah, that I'll admit the CGI has definitely, some parts of it have definitely not aged the greatest, but at the same time it was 1990, so I'm cutting it a little slack. The pipe stuff is actually pretty gnarly if you think about it. There's the shower scene like you mentioned where it's like, do, and he pops up. Like I thought that was really cool. Like when you actually see its final form, I won't spoil it here. I remember terrible. Yeah, that one is not great, but I think the design is actually not that bad. It just like I guess it was just too ambitious for 1990.
I think honestly, people were like, because Pennywise, they want to see them face off. If I'm a studio, I'm like, I don't want them to face off against a fucking spider. I want them to face off against Pennywise. And I think that's why, in the 90s, in the 2019, they kind of did that the way they did. They kind of made it where, they made it like, Pennywise hybrid of a spider versus like.
It kind of goes back to the book where it's like tying into whole like the Dark Tower stuff, and I was listening to the Cinephiles, and they were kind of breaking it down a little bit. So like I won't go too deep into the quagmire of that here. I get why the spider is around, but at the same time, I'm with you. I'm just like, we've seen this clown the whole time, and now all of a sudden he just like turns into like the big old like spider thing. I'm like, I don't know. That was certainly a choice. It Chapter 2 didn't really do it a ton better, but again, I'm getting ahead of myself.
You know what? I guarantee you, John Peters, producer John Peters, watched that and was like, you know what? He gets it. Tommy Lee Wallace gets it. Stephen King gets it. You know why? Because spiders are the most fiercest animal in the animal kingdom. If you ever listen to the Kevin Smith Evening with documentary where he talks about Superman, Tim Burton's Superman, there's a whole segment for context that where he says John Peters meets him and he says he says three things. One, I don't want to see Superman fly. Two, he says, I don't want to see him in the suit. And the third act, he has to fight a giant spider. And he goes, why? He said, okay, the first two are horseshit, he was thinking, but the third one intrigues me. Why a giant spider? And he goes, because spiders are the most fiercest animal in the animal kingdom. And he says, like, and just like, he's like, this dude has way too much access to the Discovery Channel. And he's like, and I just think, I'm just imagining him watching it going, John Peters watching it going, yeah, oh my God, imagine if Superman fought that giant spider and it. Like, it would just go, I'm just thinking, it's a freaking spider, okay? It's like, which, honestly, if you're watching the movie, watching this movie right now, they knock the spider over after they hit it and it's wounded, they knock it over. Ah! It's like
they literally like shoot a chunk of silver at it, and that's all it takes.
I'm just like watching, going, okay, I understand this was the 90s.
It's a better ending than seeing the clown deflate, like at the end of it, chapter 2. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. So it definitely gets worse, but that doesn't make this any better, I guess is my point.
I mean, it's not like, I will say this. I think when they fought Pennywise as children, and then they shoot him, and then he goes down the pipe, I think that was more effective compared to, I wish that, my thing is this, I would wish Pennywise should have did like in the book and go against and create, like, as the Pennywise gets them all together, and they kind of do this in it chapter 2, where he gets all their fears and he's trying to lure on their fears, where it's like, okay, Beverly is trapped with her abusive father. And then you have, and then of course Stan is the werewolf, and they got the werewolf, and then the leopard man, and all that stuff. And they do that kind of in it chapter 2, but like this one, they do it kind of when they're kids. They don't really do it like they kind of do it, but not really. Especially because it's supposed to happen when they're adults, and so it has more impact because the whole idea is they went away from Derry and they don't remember anything. And also, there's something that the movie, even both movies, don't do. They don't like her. So in the book, Beverly's abusive husband is also going to Derry to kill Beverly.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's his name's wife? Bill's wife is going to Derry, and so Pennywise, after he escapes, he escapes from the mental hospital. He lets what's his name?
Bowers.
Yeah, Henry Bowers. After that fails, then Pennywise abducts. Gets what's his face, Beverly's husband, Tom, to abduct Bill's wife, and then Pennywise puts him in a trance and kills him. And then Pennywise takes the wife, and then puts him in her spider cocoon. That's what happens in the book. And instead, it's like, I was rewatching, I'm like, that's not her. I had to Google. I'm like, is that her wife? Is that Beverly's husband? That's Bill's wife? Is that Beverly's husband? I had to go. I'm like, that's not. And I'm like, why wouldn't you? I understand that they like. Oh, so instead of Pennywise disguise himself as a random gas station attendant. Gas. I mean, wouldn't it, and at that point, wouldn't you be if you're going to just have him be a random gas station attendant? Wouldn't it be better to have Tim Curry?
Like actually, like Tim Curry as a gas station attendant. That'll tie things neatly together.
I mean, that would have done that. That would have been more clever than like, okay, just random guy. I understand like the real audience would be like, oh my God, that's Tim Curry, that's Pennywise. But like in 1990, the general audience wouldn't have known.
No.
I mean, like most people have been like, why is Frankenfurter in this movie? Most people would have said that. Like that's a random.
What is the? Oh no, wait. Home Alone 2 didn't come out yet.
Yeah.
So it's saying, what is the concierge from the plaza doing here? But no, like that.
That was 2 years later. 2 years later.
Yes, exactly.
Which, yeah, that's what most people be watching. Like, why is Tim Curry in this movie? He's just randomly like, which can just keep his British accent. That would make it even funnier. Hello, yes.
Well, I mean, Tim Curry tried to do a different accent in the movie Congo, and that didn't really work out for him.
Yeah. I still remember him eating a rice cake, like he's eating, it looks like a Rice Krispie treat. He's like, and then like Ernie Hudson's like, you better close your mouth. He's like, yeah. Which I will say about this, yeah, there is some moments like it feels like nobody else can see Pennywise but the kids. Okay, and there is some stuff like I was telling Jacob Martin yesterday after our watch party for Halloween 3, that there are stuff in the book that they cut out, which it chapter 2 does include. Then there are stuff that no producer will ever include in any idiot adaptation. You
No.
know what I'm talking about. There
Yeah.
is a scene in the movie that, or not in the book, that is like, okay, yeah, you're not including that in the any form. And even Andy Muschietti goes, yeah, we would not do that because they're kids, and that would be traumatizing for the kids. And
Yeah.
and then
It's definitely one of those scenes where you read it and you go, Mr. King, are you sure you're off the drugs? Are you really sure?
I really thought when Stephen King wrote that book that scene was written because it was like how I thought it was gonna be like how Good Will Hunting when it was written. Ben Affleck wrote a sex scene between the two guys, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, a sex scene between. No, not wasn't between them, but it was between it was Robin Williams and Stellan Skarsgård, where Robin Williams gets on his knees and blows Stellan Skarsgård, and
Yeah.
then and he said they sent it to every studio, and they're like, if they question that scene, that means they wrote the script. So they sent it to every studio, and none of the studios got back to him. Harvey Weinstein read the script and goes, I love the script, but he said, why is there an oral sex scene between this character, these two? They're two straight guys. Why is he just randomly blowing him? And then they explain the whole situation about how they didn't think nobody read the script, and you're the first person to read the script. Nobody else said anything about that scene, and so they figured that's why. And so yeah, they removed the scene. But yeah, I figured that's what Stephen King was doing, where he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna write this fucked up scene in the book." And if the studio says, "Look, King, we love the whole book, but you got to remove this scene because they're kids," and I'm like, and instead they're like, "Oh shit, they're actually publishing it. That means they didn't read the book." I was thinking, okay, Stephen King probably wrote it like that. Nope, that's not the case at all. Stephen King actually defended it like recently, saying, no, it's a coming of age story. When people are young, that's how they become adults. You have sex. And I'm just like, Stephen King, think about what you're saying, Mr. King, because you're coming off a little bit like like something that you would see on Catch a Predator. Your words are making Chris Hansen questioning your motives. Like, just saying, Mr. King, like, you might want to rethink those words. I'm just saying because, I would say the cocaine's talking. He said he's not.
Yeah.
But I mean, me and Jacob Martin's like, who would write that? I'm like, this is the same guy, by the way. I told Jacob Martin, me and him were joking. I says, he draws the line, though. Stephen King draws the line at at that. But yet he's like, oh, you can't make my book rage because it's about school shootings. But yet then he makes a whole book about a kid that wants to be a white supremacist and then who hides in a tree at the end to kill Jewish students. That if you ever seen that book, that's called Apatu Papule, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally the book at the end of the book. In the book, the kid the whole book's about the kid wanting to be a white supremacist. Because he has an old man that's telling him Nazi story. It's a ex-Nazi, and he's telling him stories. And the kid's just smiling like, yeah, uh-huh. And then the old man dies, and the kid then gets a rifle and hides in the bushes at his school, waiting for all the Jewish kids to come out so he could play target practice with them. And I'm just like, that is a fucked up book. Which they did the movie, but the movie, they definitely changed it. They changed it because Bryan Singer's like, I am not putting that in a book. That's the studio would never make that. That's too far. They said the studio.
To round things off, though, for the mini series, I'm going to give this a grade rating. It's definitely flawed. It definitely shows its age in places, but there's not enough here to make me go negative on this. I still really enjoy it. And like I said, it's not a clear quest. It's not a clear victory of like, oh, part one's chapter one's definitely better than this. Like, no, I think it's more up for debate. And I think it's an interesting debate. I mean, if there were no merit to this, I mean, we wouldn't be getting an HBO Max series on this book coming very soon. So, I mean, as problematic, I hate to use that word, but that's the word I'm using, as some elements of the book can be, it clearly was a success.
I mean, this book, obviously, yeah, there's some stuff that they're not going to do again. Like I said, they would never do again. But at the same time, this book, it's a really well-made book. I mean, everything. And I mean, the idea is Derry is an effed up town, and maybe that's why, like, it kind of implies in the book, that the area has always been an effed up town, and the clown kind of loves it here because of that. Why it's like, because the clown doesn't have an influence over the town. Like, it's not like Wonder Woman, where it's like, oh, if you kill Arius, that means all the people will stop fighting. You know, it's not like that where he's like, it's a magical spell. Where it's like, it's more or less, it's like, no, these people are evil. There's a lot of people that are evil, and Pennywise just loves it here.
Yeah, like he fits right in.
He's like, yeah, I could just like, he says like, I mean, like, look, there is a scene in like, it's in the book where they do something horrible happens to a person just for existing. They literally do something horrible, and then Pennywise kills the guy after like they do this horrible atrocity to him. And I'm just like, that is so fucked up.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, that is the most horrible thing. And this guy is just such a sweet man who literally is just trying to just existing. And I thought that was the most horrible thing, like, and I'm just like, and they do it in the movie. They do it in It Chapter 2 at the beginning of the movie. And I'm just like, and it just makes it even worse now because the guy's just being a nice guy, gives a little girl her teddy bear, walk on, and then that, of course, happens. What happens, and then you're just like, and then, yeah, but at least in the book, though, they arrest the people that do the crime. They charge them with murder compared to in the movie, It Chapter 2, they just like get away scot-free, and you never hear anything about them being charged. And he's like, well, shit happens. I'm just like, what?
Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, but yeah.
But what did you think of it, the mini-series? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to read what you have to say. Collins will be joining me to cover It Chapter 1 and 2. They're separate movies, so they're going to be separate reviews. I mean, we might as well. But Collins, where can the people find you?
You can find me at 3D Movie Cinema, where I have, by the time this airs, we'll have reviewed Tron Legacy and Jeepers Creepers with Steph from All Weather Popcorn.
Yep, all the links will be down below, and then we will be doing It Chapter 1 very soon because, like, Welcome to Derry is coming in like a few days, so we're going to cram these in as much as possible. But for Collins, my name is Ryan Cam. We will see you all in the next one.
And remember, you'll float too.
You'll float too. You'll float too.